Alright, today what we've got in store is another tutorial, and this one, I had a few tutorials that were already up, but YouTube saw fit to take them down because apparently in the background there was music being played by some of my inconsiderate neighbors through their car stereos that was so low in volume I couldn't even hear it in the playback, but somehow I guess the algorithm picked it up or something. I don't know. So some of my tutorials got taken down, and they were mainly the ones with grabs. So I'm gonna try and make up for that by covering some of those same grabs again and adding on two instead. So yeah, let's get into this. Basically, those who don't already know, I usually fingerboard in a very different style from the traditional. Traditional style, you've got your index finger and your middle finger. Usually, your middle finger is your back finger, your index finger is your front finger, and what's largely gate kept is grabs of any sort because they don't want you to use your thumb because they feel like, oh, grabbing the deck is cheating. Well, it's not cheating, it's fingerboarding, and these grab tricks are actual tricks in actual skateboarding, which look at all of the overlap. I mean, that's what fingerboarding is. It's skateboarding with a miniature skateboard with your fingers. So now me, because of the gatekeeping, okay, fine. I don't use my thumb. Instead, here's how I do it. And this is actually a little more challenging, I dare say. Until you get used to it, I guess. My index finger acts as the front finger. In other words, my left hand. My middle finger acts as my left foot or front foot. Ring finger is going to act as my back foot or right foot. Pinky is going to act as my right hand or back hand because I'm regular footed. So clearly what else this means is if I do something where I'm in switch, then well, now the pinky is the front hand and the index is the back hand. Okay, now I'm gonna make some mention here to clear something else up before we get further into this. I'm gonna use the terms heel side and toe side. The reason I'm making that distinction is because this way it won't matter if you're goofy footed or regular footed. You just mirror you just mirror it. So if you're goofy footed or left handed, or recently I found out there's a fingerboarder that just normally, like what everybody else would call switch, that's normal to him. That's how he learned to do it. He learned to ollie like that, and that's just normal for him. So, well, he doesn't use the middle two though. He uses, but you get the gist, a normal switch ollie for him. No, that's just a normal ollie to him. So to clarify this and make it easier, the knuckles face the toe side. The palm faces the heel side. Problem solved. Okay, now, like I said, let's get into this part. Alright. Grabs, they can be done as early grabs, or you can ollie into them, like I just did with that one. And you'll notice that the deck didn't curl in. It just, just a straight up grab. You'll also notice something else that I did. I kind of made that a little bit more realistic. Instead of, oh, I'm going to hold this in the air as long as I want to. No, I want this to look a little more realistic. I mean, it's supposed to represent skateboarding after all. So, yeah, that would be a melon grab. Now, when it comes to vert, because you just saw me do it on flat, when it comes to vert, how I usually do it is I tend to pop right around here, like right before, I'm popping such that just before the front wheels are going to hit the coping. That's usually when I pop. And the other thing you may have noticed is, what did I do there? I came away from the surface instead of trying to follow it up the transition. Right? Because what's going to happen? The board might go flying. So there's a bit of finesse to this. You can get air above the coping, but you got to know when to pop. And down here is not it. That's why I was doing that, to demonstrate that. See, now right there, what happened? If you play it back, you'll probably notice my pinky tapped the tail. That was a tail grab. And notice it didn't grab back here, it just tapped on the tail. Now that time it did a grab, although that was a crappy one. Okay, well that was neat. It wasn't intentional, but it was neat. But it was a stale fish to fan flip. Fan flip is when you use a hand to flip the deck the same direction as a heel flip. So that was an unintentional stale fish to fan flip. But anyway, okay, so you can see that what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into these just to go over what each grab is. We're going to do early grab versions of each one. So the mute grab is where the front hand grabs toe side, usually near the wheel, but not directly under it. The reason that most people won't grab directly under it is because wheel bite is totally a thing. So, I mean, it's not as bad on, say, a fingerboard, but there you go. There's a mute grab. Okay? Now, if I extend that back foot out and drop the board, it's a bail. Nobody said I was perfect. Anyway, if you grab like a mute, but you extend the back foot out, now you've got a Japan air. Now, this is easier to do as a front side Japan air because the deck is already naturally going to rotate. In my opinion, that's easier. But, there you go. Another one we can do is same hand grabbing the opposite side of the deck. Okay, well that's a melon, right? Now what we're going to do though is we're going to curl it in. Well, that is called a method. Right? So what about if you grab behind, heel side with the back hand and you curl the fingers in? Well, now you've got a stale fish tweak, and that looks great as a front side one, especially if you keep it as much as you can of a fluid motion. Indy is going to be the backhand grabbing the toe side. Okay? Right? So there you go. Now, Indy nose bone is where you're doing that same thing, but you're going to extend the front foot, which kind of makes it look a little tweaked. I mean, and yeah, that is kind of a way of tweaking it. Let's see. I know a really good one that I think a lot of vert skaters are gonna like. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start out sort of like a mute grab, but we're gonna take the front foot off of the deck. Okay, now that is a judo. Judo to fakie. Okay, so what about maybe a 1 foot Japan? See? All these different ones, man. I'm telling you, grabs can be pretty fun, especially if you're maybe doing a line or something, and maybe you did something way over on that end, and maybe it was a grind or something, like that, and then to keep it flowing, you've got a quarter pipe over here. Well, why not a frontside mute, and then maybe that, backside nose pivot, and then, fakey frontside crooks, and then, the next thing you know, you're doing something on the other quarter pipe on the other end down there that's kind of out of frame, but you get the gist. You can flow back and forth like that and mix both street and vert. Yeah, there's a lot of these different tricks out there. But that's the main thing, is that grabs can be done as early grabs, or they can be done with an ollie. Either way, most of the time I tend to either do it as an early grab or a very, very quick pop where I'm grabbing when I'm still close to the coping, like that. And that would be a frontside mute. So yeah, there's also nose grab, So yeah, I've gone over so far what? Nose grab, tail grab, indie, stalefish, melon, mute. We've gone over Japan. We've gone over indie nose bone. We've gone over stalefish, and then when you curl it in, it's a tweak. So a stalefish tweak. We've gone over the method. Yeah, there's quite a few of these grabs that can be done, and sometimes I'll even do them into board varials. So I'll go like that. So we got a mute grab to board varial. It's not hard to do, really. Backside melon there. A little bit of bonus skating there. And this is another cool thing. You can do these grabs, like say you're in a blunt stall, right? What says you don't nose grab to fake you out of it? I mean, that's a totally valid thing. People do it all the time, right? Okay, so front side tail, revert to fakie. All right, well, what about bam, right? Front side tail stall, body varial, and try and do what was that? A wrap around is what that's called. Well, what I was trying to do anyway. Okay, like right there, we got a blunt stall, wrap around, nose grab to fakie. I mean, so that's a pretty interesting little combo right there, There's a lot of different ways you can do this, I mean, you can do a fast plant if you can get that middle finger to come down below the deck and then stall and then catch the landing, which I barely did right there, but I did do it. So you got a fast plant to fakie. Or you could do a slob to fakie, which is where the back foot plants. You could do boneless to fakie. There's a lot of these different tricks you can do, What says you don't go so far as to do that? You got what is that? You got an indie nose bone and then a one-footed indie nose bone. Another one is the classic cannonball to fakie. So, yeah. there's a whole bunch of these different tricks you can totally do. They're grabs. And if you really think about it, that just opened up a whole nother group of tricks that most people who are stuck in their way of just doing this, they don't have that. They don't have those tricks in their bag. And I'm not hating on anybody. If you want to skate like that, you go right on ahead. But don't you dare hate on me skating like this, because I got more tricks than you do. Because I do all of this. And you know what? I damn sure won't hate on anybody who's going to fingerboard in a way that they're having fun, especially if it maximizes the number of tricks that they're doing. So long as we're all having fun, that's the most important part of it. You know, sure, one might think of this as a grown man playing with a toy. But I'm going to put something out there for those who might be judgmental of this. Sure, I'm 40 years old. But I'm also a disabled combat veteran. And the worst of my injuries has pretty much caught up with me. I'm pretty bad on mobility, you know? I mean, Joe Biden's got more mobility than I do at this point, and he's more than twice my age. The point being on that is that I got blown up in Afghanistan, and I narrowly survived it. I woke up during back surgery when they were removing shrapnel. And, you know, the next time I woke up, the colonel, the surgeon that operated on me, literally told me that I would never walk again. That's what he told me. Not only was I hearing, oh, my career is over, but I was hearing I may never walk again. Mind you, I've been skateboarding since I was 2 years old. I was not about to take no for an answer there. Fingerboarding is something that kept me focused on what I could still do as opposed to what I can no longer do. And having that in between those sessions of rehab, you know, we're talking about physical therapy and occupational therapy, that type of rehab. It meant the world to me. It kept me going. So, you know, next time you see somebody fingerboarding, no matter what their age is, maybe don't judge them. You know, everybody's got different reasons for fingerboarding that does it. So, and what says you have to have a reason? Maybe it's just fun, and that's the reason, you know? But this gets me to focus on what I can still do instead of what I can no longer do. And while I do still skateboard today, I'm not hitting El Toro no more. I'll put it that way, okay? I'm not hitting big gaps and rails like I used to anymore. Now it's all low impact and freestyle and slappy skating, and that's all I can do anymore. And it was hell trying to get back to that point. So, yeah, don't judge fingerboarders no matter what their age, because you don't know what somebody's been through. But yeah, anyway, that was my tutorial on grabs and, you know, why I fingerboard. Hope that helped people out and gave some perspective as well. Have a good one.